evening, I'm Anthony Rippo.
And I'm Adam Inting.
And welcome to Retro Game News. Here are the top stories from this past week. Earlier this month, two Nintendo games that had been finished 30 years earlier and never sold to anyone became playable for the first time. They are available on the Nintendo Switch today, but not for free. The games are Zero Racers, an F-Zero spin-off developed by Nintendo, and D-Hopper, an action-adventure built by Intelligent Systems, the studio behind Fire Emblem and Paper Mario. Both were made for the Virtual Boy. The warning signs were visible in 1995, when Nintendo discontinued the Virtual Boy in Japan on December 22nd. Nintendo of America pressed ahead anyway, planning a second wave of releases for 1996 that included Bound High, Dragon Hopper, and Zero Racers. All three games were finished and rated by the ESRB. According to former Nintendo of America associate producer Jim Warnell, Zero Racers had a completed manual, packaging, label, and rating. None of them shipped. The Virtual Boy was discontinued in North America in August 1996, having sold roughly 770,000 units against 800,000 shipped. Nintendo announced the revival on January 27th, and the Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics app launched on February 17th. The two lost games arrived on August 4th, alongside a screen color feature that lets players shift the display away from the original red. Players need a Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack subscription at $49.99 a year, along with hardware, either the $99.99 Virtual Boy replica accessory, which is currently sold out, or the $24.99 cardboard model. There is no flat two-dimensional option. Reception has been divided. Nintendo Life called Zero Racers the most fun the reviewer has ever had in a Virtual Boy headset, while players on enthusiast forums called it a slog. D-Hopper was described as possibly the best game on the system. With these two titles, Vooks reported that the announced Virtual Boy lineup is now complete. 17 games, arriving 30 years later. For anyone who owns an Amiga or has been waiting for an official Amiga machine, the legal fog sitting over that platform for decades has thinned considerably. Earlier this month, two agreements were announced that establish who owns what, who can sell what, and for how long. The first agreement is between Amiga Corporation and Commodore International Corporation. Amiga Corporation holds the copyrights in the works of the former Commodore and Amiga companies, along with the Amiga trademarks. Commodore International, led by Christian Simpson, bought Commodore Corporation BV and 47 original trademarks on July 31, 2025, for what Simpsons described as a low seven-figure sum. Under the new deal, Amiga recognizes Commodore's ownership of the Commodore and C marks and licenses Commodore's own 8-bit software and documentation back to it for use in its products. Amiga's statement put it this way, quote, 42 years later, the circle is closing. The second agreement settles with Hyperion Entertainment, the Belgian developer of Amiga OS 4. It took effect on June 5th, was signed on July 17th, and was filed with the United States District Court on August 3rd. The term lands differently depending on which machine you own. Hyperion continues developing Amiga OS 4 for PowerPC and other non-68K processors under license, but for classic 68K Amigas, its rights are transitional. It may sell Amiga OS 3.2 and the forthcoming 3.3 until December 31st, 2027 at the latest, after which it may keep and sell up to 1,000 remaining physical copies. Those products must be sold as upgrades to a legally licensed installation rather than as standalone operating systems. Amiga Corporation then directs 68K development itself, and Hyperion hands over the source code for Amiga OS 3.1, 3.13, and 3.14. Hyperion director Timothy DeGroot said the lawsuits had, quote, drained energy and resources from the advancement of Amiga OS, and pointed to finishing Amiga OS 3.3 and 4.2. Future disputes now go to arbitration in Brussels rather than to court. Amiga says it is in a position to resolve soft voice speech synthesis and to prepare releases of the Boing Ball demo. No hardware has been announced, and the settlement contains no technical roadmap. A PlayStation RPG that never left Japan is now playable in English at no cost. A group called Cabal Translations released a complete English patch for London Serai Tantaiden, a 1999 Bandai title they have titled London Spirit Detectives. for anyone who owns the disc or the hardware to run it. A game locked behind a language barrier for 27 years is now open. The original released in Japan on May 20th, 1999. It is a turn-based RPG set in 19th century London, following an orphaned boy taken in as an apprentice to a famous detective named Everett, running roughly 20 chapters with side cases throughout. Time Extension describes it as Sherlock Holmes meets Oliver Twist, and refers to it today as a hidden gem in the PlayStation library that never got a chance to capitalize on the growing market for turn-based RPGs outside Japan in the late 90s. The patch went live on August 5th and covers every chapter's script, item, technique, and location names, newspapers and letters, all graphics including the title screen and battle animations, and the game's full manual, bundled on the disc. It also repairs an original defect that caused an NPC to disappear after being spoken to, locking players out of a side quest. That bug shipped with the game in 1999 and remained there until a group of volunteers fixed it this year. The translation team added one line to their documentation, quote, "Artificial intelligence tools were not used in the creation of this patch." They offered no elaboration. One detail is worth noting about the artist. The game's artwork came from Yasushi Nirasawa, known for Kamen Rider and Vampire Hunter D: Bloodlust. Nirasawa died in 2016, but his work on this game is finally reaching an English-speaking audience. The patch is free on GitHub, and it applies to a specific disk image. No download figures have been published, and no comment has come from Bandai. People who have been waiting 27 years for an English translation can finally sit down and enjoy London Spirit Detectives. Doom is coming to cartridge. Owners of any Evercade device or the Super Pocket will be able to buy 9 pieces of classic id Software content for $29.99 on October 30th. The Doom collection is cartridge 11 in Evercade's Blue Home computer range, though the cartridge itself ships red. It contains Doom, Doom 2, TNT Evolution, the Plutonia Experiment, master levels for Doom 2, No Rest for the Living, Sigil, Sigil 2, and the Doom Deathmatch Pack. Blaze describes Doom and Doom 2 as native ports from the PC versions rather than emulation, with widescreen support, 3 soundtrack mixes, and scanline options. Pricing is $24.99 in the UK and $29.99 in the United States and Europe. Blaze CEO Andrew Byatt said in the announcement, quote, "This is one of the most exciting releases we've ever produced for Evercade. Doom helped define an entire genre and remains one of the most influential games ever made." The second product carries a different cost. The limited edition Evercade Nexus Doom Edition was capped at 3,000 units worldwide, sold only through Funstock, at $249.99 in the United States. That premium buys a themed console, a big box cartridge, a hard shell case, a comic, a keyring, poster, and a numbered certificate. Pre-orders opened at 3 in the afternoon UK time on August 7th, and Retro News reports the edition sold out within 24 hours. The Doom edition is now gone. The cartridge, the standard Nexus, and the Banjo-Kazooie double pack remain available to pre-order from Evercade retailers, all shipping October 30th. For anyone who already owns Evercade hardware, $30 still buys the same 9 games. And that concludes our top stories from this past week. Thank you for watching Retro Game News, where we inform you of yesterday's gaming news happening today. Good night.